Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you today by request from Michelle. We're going to be talking about Image Comics Hexware issue number 2. It is written by Tim Seeley, art by Zulema, Scotto, Lavina, colors by Valentina, Cuomo, and then letters by Maurizio, Clausi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. It is no disrespect at all. But what a great issue. But before we start, please like, comment, subscribe. That does help this channel, gives me the right feedback, you know what I'm saying? But I love the interaction with the community. So let's get into it, right? So the book picks up right where the last one left off. We are with our Witchware, which is our main character, and then she is fighting this ancient princess of Thebes. She has been tasked to track down certain entities that escaped hell or something like that. In the last issue, she made a deal with a something. It could have been a demon, a lord of the prince of hell, we don't know. But basically she made a deal to get her soul back. She has to collect, certain people. She has to go on these hunts, and at the end of the last issue, that's what she was doing. We're continuing on here with her friend, I think his name was Romeo. Drawing a blank there. It might be Romero, but I'm gonna go with Romeo. But she has conquered the princess, as you can see here. But even in death, her being all the way down to a skull, she's still talking, and it's all this yam yam yam, and eventually we see that she does enact this spell, and you see the essence of that, the entity which was in the princess, actually go into the symbol which is on the Witchware's chest. At this point, the book gets real confusing, and I actually had to stop reading and go back to the first issue because I was so lost. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something. It's not. It's set up that way. But basically, after she defeats the mark, the person that she was after, it overloaded her system, and she reverted back to the actual android Witchware that she has the software inside her. In the last issue, and this is where we get a little more clarification, she was resurrected, and then she did the whole spell thing with the demon. We're just gonna say that. And so basically, this is Jessie, and this is, I think her name was Jezebel, or Giuseppe, and something like that. And don't quote me on names. I'm horrible with names, people. But basically, this is that little girl that died, and she has been resurrected, and now she is in this Witchware. By Romeo putting on the headphones back on the Witchware, and she related back to the older, her past moments with Romeo, and then all of a sudden she comes back. But there is a moment after she kills the princess, and acquires the magic or her soul or whatever that she does, where she reverts back to her, it's basically factory reset. And if it wasn't for Romeo here, putting the headphones on her, because she did listen to music before, it kind of saved her from doing the factory reset thing. There's a conversation between both of them. Basically, he figures this out instantly, that's kind of what happened, that maybe the magic overpowered. But he's the one that kind of relates, hey, you died, there was a bombing, yeah, that somebody brought you back to life, and now you have to do this hunt thing. And she's like, oh, I do kind of remember that. Basically, at this point in the book, it's stated she instantly, and you can see right here, and she sees this fire footsteps on the ground. That's her tag location for her next hunt. She's supposed to follow that, and that leads to her next kill or whatever. Romeo the boy, he actually states that he's hey, and I actually think his name is Ren, but he's telling Jessie, he's hey, it's late, you're supposed to be this android that has parents, parents of the girl you're supposed to be, so maybe let's go home and we'll do the hunt on another day. that is the plan, but at the very end, he kind of reinstates that she has to continue being the android. That if her parents found out that she was Jessie, of course they would, be ecstatic and in love and everything. But there's that thing: she has to, get all these marks before she can get her soul back. So he kind of like instates like, hey, let's finish all these hunts before we tell your parents that you're back and in this body, because that's basically what it is Jesse in a android body. They run off to, make it back to their respected homes, and as they run off, we see in the background this guy, and his name is Rocco, but we're just gonna call him King for now because that's pretty much all he talks about. And but basically at this point, he's following the Witchware. He knows he's being tracked. He tells this whole short story to this kid that helped him track her. But basically, it's this story about how Zeus was tricked by this king, and eventually, after Zeus found out that he was tricked, the Zeus turned the king into a big giant wolf, and the wolf basically stating that, what was wrong with that? A big beautiful wolf, and we see that he runs off, and as he runs off, he does transform into a werewolf, of course, and it kind of implies that he might be that king that tricked Zeus or tried to trick Zeus. We go back to Jesse's household with her parents, and I'm really drawing a blank at their names. I think it was Kyle and Ray, I think it was, and it was like backwards. I think Kyle was the girl and Ray was the guy. But they're talking about the bombing that recently happened. Jess is, just basically doing her android kind of thing. There is a moment when the mom notices that the android has a cut on her arm, and right here, and she's taking her to go get fixed. When she takes her to go get fixed, she's interrupted because her husband's having this conversation, and there is a name attached to the person, but we don't really know exactly what he is in the whole main scheme of things. But it does kind of sound like he's like maybe government or some kind of high official or something like that. But it's basically a conversation because of the bombing. Now, they're trying to put out these new androids, and they're shown here. They're called ambassador androids, and they're supposed to be like protecting the city so the people don't have to. But he's coming here to instate these two like androids in their homes, but there's a reason, because Jesse's real parents, they were manufacturing a drug that like supposedly it makes you so calm and happy and carefree that you don't really care about like bad things and stuff like that. The dad kind of stating that since the bombing, people might be drugged, and then they'll be so carefree and happy that they won't even be looking out for bombers, kind of thing. And that's why the official or government person or whatever he is kind of states, well, that's why we need more ambassador droids out there. There is a moment when the official person is leaving with his ambassador droids or whatever, but she says goodbye to the official, and then she says goodbye to the droid, and it kind of throws the droid off the way she says goodbye. She's kind of like, have a nice day, Mr. Candid, which is that guy, and then she's like, oh, and you too, and the droid is kind of like, malfunction, and then he kind of walks on. He doesn't say that, but he does have like a pause kind of scene, like something seemed wrong to him about this android. And of course she's supposed to be faking it. So we go to like, it's supposed to be the next night, and they are allowed, now Romeo has approved the hunt. Jesse and them are following the footsteps. They basically make it out into this junkyard. Jesse enters into this like hole, as you can see here, and as soon as she enters the hole, Romeo is captured by somebody. They're not really captured, he's just grabbed and said, hey, but he is captured. Jess is still in human mode. The headphones and stuff took her out of the robot mode, and she is still like kind of thinking and being human. She crawls into this dark hole, and lo and behold, it is a trap set by that dude Rocco, the king. And it is basically a school bus full of like hungry rats. But the guy made a huge mistake. But we see very quickly. The book shifts over back to Romeo, and we find out that it was King, and he has several different like little kids, like a gang that's working for him that have grabbed Romeo, and they're basically, like Romeo is supposed to be in this gang, like working for this guy or something like that. We find out at the during this time. He's still trying to convince King or Rocco that he's working for him, and King's not buying it. He wants to eat the kid, and that's kind of the objective here. He's not even worried about the hunter anymore. Jess, it does go back to Jess, and while she's in the bus, we go back to the mistake he made. He was thinking she was a real person, like a regular person, and when she went into the bus with the rats, she was kind of thinking the same, and while she's in there, she starts remembering that she is an android, and made of plastic and metal and stuff like that. And so she does let the rats bite her, which was kind of funny because it's just a tink, because she's metal. And then she starts thinking like that. She smashes through the bus, and as soon as she gets out, she's able to save Romeo, or bad with names, guys. But she's able to save him right before Rocco's able to eat him. As you can see here, she jumps on his back, and then she's just like wailed around like a paper doll. Like he grabs her and just bam on the ground. The kids start laughing. When this starts happening, something weird happens, and in this issue, it is not really explained what happened. But all of a sudden you'll see at the bottom, and hopefully you can see it, but there's like this blue fog smoke stuff that starts appearing. During the fight between King and Jesse, the boys literally start to disappear. Romeo thinks it's Jess, but then the other boys start disappearing, and they kind of think it's King. King thinks it's Jess, and he's still trying to fight her, and eventually, like, it looks like he's about to kill her, and right when she does, she's able to use her android body. She connects with this, like, I don't know, power charge or whatever, and electrocutes the shit out of Rocco, and he just takes off running, screaming like rah! Instantly when that happens, at the same moment the boys reappear, screaming, "The freaky fog has gone." After that, the boys, they kind of like they're stuck there. Romeo like runs over to Jess to check on her, and they're kind of talking about the whole smoke thing, but she confirms that it wasn't her, or not that she is aware of. She does state that it could have been the machine, like the actual witchware that's within her, which I'm assuming. But the way they reference machine, like there could have been a machine that was in this room. There's this wall that is behind him, and that's what she had touched with electricity. So she could be referencing that machine, but I'm assuming it's the witchware inside her machine that they were talking about. So basically, they don't really know what made the all four boys disappear. It couldn't, it's not King, but they're not sure if it was Jesse or if it was actually like the witchware inside her. That being said, she starts noticing the footprints, saying that the footprints are leading her way to King. She starts stating, do we have to fight his little gang, which he had in the first place, and Romeo sadly states that you probably won't have to, because they're back here dealing with the rats, and it looks like the rats are literally trying to eat the boys. After that, it's just a scene with Rocco and how badly he's hurt. He's limping like a dog, and we see him make it to this alley, and of course somebody is in this alley waiting for him. He states something. The person he was going to meet is Invictus, is the name. This is actually when we get his real name, Rocco, because she calls him Rucco, like Ruco. But basically he's stating that the territories need to end. They need to reinstate the Hell Jumpers, whatever that is. But I'm assuming the territories in a second. But they show Invictus right here, and it's kind of crazy because she looks like a vampire, but then she's like half a person. There's like half of her up here and the other half down here. But I'm assuming that's what he meant by territories. We got werewolves, we got like vampire, I don't know, succubuses maybe. But that is where the issue leaves us off at. Basically, she's kind of the Invictus, or was that her name? Invictus was kind of mad that, he wants to reinstate, the territories or whatever. That's where they leave us off. They do give us a little cover preview, which is so dope. Right here of Invictus, and a little couple panels, but that's basically it. Nothing written or anything like that. Just basically the title, and the title is The Drowning Hymn. There's one other keynote that I wanted to add. In the first issue, there was a lot of similarities with Pinocchio. It's even brought up during the book, but the real story of Pinocchio. In this issue, Romeo actually brings it up as far as him being like her Jiminy Cricket when they go on the hunt. He can be her voice of reason, and it kind of comes into term with the Witchware thing, with how she had reverted to her factory settings. It's kind of his way of making sure that doesn't happen, kind of thing. But hey, I know this has been long. This was my review on Hexware. It has been a fantastic read. The art is amazing. I love the art, man. The pencil work is astounding. I would love to get this in black and white. But hey, that is my review. Let me know down below, what are you thinking? What do you think's coming? If you read this, what are your thoughts on the future of the issues, especially with Invictus? And I don't know, but hey, let me know down below what you're thinking about the series. Hit that like button, comment down below. Tell me about the review. How did I do? That kind of stuff. Alright guys, I'll let y'all go. I'll see y'all later. More reviews coming. Alright? Bye!